Hi, this is Jackie from the Ravenclaw group, and my group's project in CBL for the Make a Difference Challenge was called Make the Invisible Visible. We came to the conclusion that our community from the four of us would be Detroit naturally, since the four of us live in the city and the four of us work on projects and different service projects that have to do with issues in the city, so we found it very important to us. So we decided that Detroit would be a good place to start as our community, and we focused on the issue of poverty. To begin with, our first goal of the project was we thought we should try to bring awareness about the issues of poverty to the girls at Mercy High School. Just because, in general, Mercy girls don't always know exactly, statistics about poverty, statistics about minimum wage. We thought that would be an important thing and a good thing to try to teach Mercy girls about, and then, even attempt to try to teach other high schoolers that we were friends with on Facebook, for example, try to teach them and give them the information about poverty as well. As we stated in our presentation last Friday, we firstly wanted to do a calendar on Google that we would link to Facebook, and that we thought we would be able to email to the entire student body and just try to send it to a bunch of students. And we wanted the Google Calendar to have a list of different service projects that could be available in the city of Detroit each month. For example, like a Focus Hope group, packaging on Saturdays, or some nonprofit in the city that needed help and could use teenagers' help, like a soup kitchen, for example. So we wanted to have a Google Calendar that would have that each month. We figured that we believe that many Mercy girls would love to do service projects for the poor, but that we figured that a lot of Mercy girls don't always know when service projects are going on, where they are, details, maybe even safety issues, stuff like that aren't from accredited places. We figured that if Mercy girls had the option of having service projects available to them, they would be more likely to help those that were less fortunate. So that was our original idea. But then we got to thinking about it. We discussed it in length about the service idea because we really liked the project idea, but we decided that it probably didn't have much to do about government and policy change itself. Like it would be doing a positive change in the community, but it wouldn't be doing anything to change actual government policy. So we decided that the Google Calendar, while it was a great idea, maybe we could do it just for the fun of it and just, on our own time, we decided it would not work for this project, which was to change political efficacy and to try to influence change or influence stuff about political issues. So we had to change our course to something that would be more of an attempt to influence a change in policy, or at least in the minds of policymakers. Initially, this caused us some problems because we had already thought a lot about how we would maneuver the project and such, and we were very excited about it, but we decided, it wouldn't work. We still wanted to do our project on poverty. We decided to stay in that area. So we decided that we would start a letter writing campaign and we would make a video contextualizing minimum wage. And we believed that those two things would help bring awareness about poverty to Mercy girls. So like we said, we made a video where we showed how much minimum wage, if you worked 4 hours, how much money that would make, how much that would buy, or how many hours you would have to work to pay for a pair of UGG boots, for example. So one of the first contributions for this project that I did was some research about the letter. So the letter basically asked it asked policymakers to not forget the poor. They asked the policymakers to remember the poor in these hard times, and remember that the poor don't always have a voice because they're usually marginalized. So I looked up some statistics about poverty and the poor, and Eleanor and I both did that, and we drafted the letter. What we did is we each wrote a paragraph. We split our statistics in half. We each wrote a paragraph, and then we sent it to each other. We looked over each other's paragraphs. We added our own input. We edited it, and then we made it sound as professional and as and we didn't want it to be whiny either. So we made it as professional as we could. And we just cleaned it up a little bit to make it sound good. Both of us struggled to make the letter sound as neutral as possible. Our entire group, and especially Eleanor and I, we really wanted to make this letter about poverty to be more direct and specific, maybe about a specific issue, tax credits for heating bills, better housing conditions, bills for better housing conditions, stuff like that. But we decided that we had wanted to bring awareness about and care about poverty to the minds of policymakers, and we had wanted to be more specific, but we were also worried that it would polarize people, and we figured that the best way to get a voice out there was to be more moderate and not take an extreme position, and because we really wanted to bring this awareness about poverty and its relation to legislation, and we want it to be able to be reviewed and passed and considered by Michigan state legislator. So that's one of the big struggles that we definitely had with this letter writing campaign, was that we didn't know how to make it neutral and still have it be effective. So I would say that in retrospect it was partly my fault and partly the fact that we could not be polarizing that our letter campaign did not succeed. The reason that it was partly my fault was, in retrospect, I probably could have, and I thought about this later, but I probably could have spent a little more time researching about how one could write a good neutral campaign letter to a representative about such an important issue. Especially, maybe I could have researched different organizations that had written letters like this in the past. I did not think about this until after the fact, however, but I could have tried to look for different examples of letters that organizations that work with issues in poverty have written to state legislators, maybe not even just in Michigan, but all over the country, to see if other states' organizations had a good idea and a good basis for what a good neutral letter would look like. But I didn't think about that until after the fact. And maybe if I had done the research about those letters, I would have been able to find more tips about how to write a good non-polarizing letter, but I was not able to do that. I didn't think to do that. A second thing that I had as my contribution to the group was as a good resource finder. So my mother was one of the good resources for asking, just like a general idea, like good facts about working with people of lower income. So all the people that she works with are from lower income, and she talks to them at work. And some of the things that I asked her about were about how the poor are marginalized and what she witnesses on a daily basis. I asked her about how the poor are affected by different housing policies in the city of Detroit, whether they be positive or negative. For example, there are certain laws that make it easier for tenants to take advantage of their people that live in their housing, and then there are other laws that make it easier for lower income to get housing, and there are different tax credits for heating bills and special tax incentives for those who are of lower income, so that they can get heating and electricity and such, and obviously welfare and food stamps. But a lot of times those programs are cut at the state level, and my mom was talking a lot about how a lot of her clients